Hi friends, welcome to my yoga homework. You might like to have a yoga mat, a cushion or a bolster or some kind of pillow, some blankets, blocks, or be creative, maybe a stack of books, and of course a strap or a belt or even a towel that you could roll up just in case, a longer towel if you have one. If not, no worries, we'll improvise. Come join me on the mat as you wish, as you're ready. We'll be experiencing some postures, exploring some postures, mostly prone on the belly, a bit on the knees. So if you have a blanket you'd like to place under your knees, have one nearby, and supine on the back. So let's come into what we call Sphinx pose on the belly, as you wish, finding safe space for you. You might even like to start with your forehead or one of your cheeks resting on your stacked palms or your stacked forearms, depending on where it feels best for your neck, and finding your breathing for a moment here. Maybe even feeling the breath as your belly may push into the floor and then lift and lower a bit, finding your breathing. And when you feel ready, you may want to let your head rest on the other side a bit, or you might be feeling complete and ready to move into Sphinx pose. And we'll begin to lift the head and heart. The elbows might come closer to underneath the shoulders. The wrists might be out in front of you, and you'll see what your Sphinx paws are up to, if your fingers are together or if they'll spread apart. Sometimes it helps me to press a bit into the front of my hips into the mat, just to activate my core strength there, my torso, my upper body, and that way my back knows that I've got it. So we've got our own backs here. And sometimes we stay quite still in the Sphinx pose as we find our breathing. Or sometimes we move a bit in the Sphinx pose. You could bring your chin toward your throat, finding your breathing. You might prefer your chin right back in the center space, finding your breathing. You might even find that your chin wants to lift a bit, finding your breathing. You're welcome to stay in Sphinx pose. You may want to play, explore with where your chin feels best, noticing perhaps what the neck experiences as the chin plays a bit. You may want to come back down to the mat where we started and rest your forehead or rest one side of your head. Or you might want to transition into a cobra pose where your hands could come a little closer, and as your upper body moves toward the mat, you might find that you're staying close to the mat, or you might find that you lift up a bit higher. They both work. Which one works for you in this moment? Finding your breathing. And again, you may want to notice where your chin feels best. Sometimes we don't know what feels best, so We give ourselves permission to play, to explore. And as you come down, you might rest your head or your cheek again. And now you choose. Will you move into your Sphinx pose? Will you move into your Cobra pose? And from this place, perhaps you'd like to add a lion's breath, or maybe you feel like a lioness today. Your eyes will get big, your tongue will stick out and will roar like a lion or a lioness after an inhale as you wish. Twice more. One more. Taking it down, taking it back, however it works for you. Maybe you'll rock a bit in a table pose. Perhaps you prefer to rest prone on the belly for a moment or two or three. They both work. And from your table, you might like to take a moment and give your knees a bit of a cushion. Just being sure that the cushion doesn't throw your balance off, but helps your knees feel a little better. And as you wish, we'll step one foot forward when you feel ready. So for me, I like to reach one leg back and stretch a little, and maybe even bring those toes down for a moment, and then step forward. And sometimes we have blocks to help us here. So you'll see if you want to come up using your blocks or your hands, they both work. And then the invitation is to take Kali Mudra. So Kali Mudra has the 4 fingers pointing, the other fingers interlaced, and the thumb stacked. And Kali is the goddess of great change. Finding your breathing. You may want to reach up and come down the midline with your Kali Mudra. You may want to reach forward and pull into the midline. You may want to add the sounds di, ri, ha for energy. Di, ri, ha, D-H-I-R-I-H-A. Di, ri, ha. You could also find your power arms and add the di, ri, ha. Di, ri, ha. Di, ri, ha. And this time, as you move to the side where your front knee is bent, maybe you'll continue to work with that side. Maybe you'll explore a bit, noticing anything that comes up as you continue to breathe. So I have my opposite elbow now on top of me. Sometimes we like to place that elbow outside of me, and I'm taking my Kali Mudra again, but you might prefer your palms together. And sometimes we spread the fingers wide, and sometimes we keep the fingers together. Finding your breathing in a bit of a twist. Bringing it center as you wish. Releasing. You may want to move to your table pose for a moment. You're always welcome to take it down to a child's pose. Maybe the table will move a little before we prepare for the other side. Welcoming balance. finding your breathing. I like to reach the other foot back. You could even bring those tippy toes down for a moment and press. That helps the backs of my knees release. And then pulling that knee in and stepping forward. Blocks are not up to you. And coming up as it suits you. Once again, taking the Kali Mudra if you like, or maybe you just prefer bringing the palms together at your heart center. Finding your drishti, your soft gaze to a point that doesn't move. Finding your breathing. Maybe the Kali Mudra comes right down the midline. Maybe the Kali Mudra reaches forward and comes back in. Finding your breathing. Again, you are invited to add the sounds D, D-H-I, Ri, R-I, Ha, H-A for energy as you wish. D, Ri, Ha. D, Ri, Ha. D, Ri, Ha. Finding your breathing. Maybe you'd like to add on your power arms and invite a bit of a twist to your low lunge. D, Ri, Ha. D, Ri, Ha. D, Ri, Ha. Coming center. Perhaps you'll add a bit of a twist again. I like to keep the Kali Mudra. You might prefer your hands together. An elbow could be near your knee, could be outside your knee, which suits you in this moment. What will you explore as you breathe? Can you be playful with whichever may come up? Can you continue to breathe with whichever may come up? Coming center when you feel complete, taking it back to your table pose, maybe a child's pose. If you wish, of course, you could be more like a rocking table, forward and back a bit. And when you feel complete, we'll move to the supine side, the back side, for bridge pose. So when you get there, giving yourself time in any of the postures that are speaking to you or calling to you in this moment. Coming on down to the mat, however you can get there, being sure you have safe space. In bridge pose, our arms will extend, our legs are bent. I have my palms facing down. My head will stay centered, and when I'm feeling ready, I'll lift the hips and breathe, finding breathing here. You're welcome to come down as it suits you. And when you do come down, we'll stay and even practice pressing the low back into the mat. So when I press, I can almost feel my navel center moving down a bit. At least that's what it feels like for me. Underneath my belly button area, I'm pressing down. And when I do that, my hips my pelvic area at the very bottom near the tailbone there is having a little tilt up. If that feels right for you, perhaps you'll continue moving between a natural place for your spine, your back to be, and then pressing that low back down, finding your breathing. I find this position really helpful, especially when my low back or my sacral area is feeling a little off. And it's a nice reminder for me anyway to wake up this center space. And when you feel complete, we're going to make our way on to the belly side. So let me see what we have here. A bow pose variation. I really appreciate this half variation, and it's another posture that I'm finding really helps me when I'm feeling a little not centered or not balanced in the low back or in the sacrum area. So underneath our low spine, our lumbar spine, we have 5 tiny sacral vertebrae. They're very cute, leading up to your tailbone, and this is where I feel the benefits. You might feel it somewhere else, someplace different. And so the invitation is to push your cushion out of the way. Have one arm extend in front of you and have one arm next to you. And then the arm next to you could start to reach for, well, I have a pant leg, I have an ankle, I have a foot. This could be where you use that rolled up towel to catch your ankle or foot, or you might prefer to have a strap or a belt if you'd like, or even an old tie. Be creative with something that feels right for you. And maybe it just makes sense to reach and extend. Finding breathing. I have my head centered again. Or maybe you'll connect and start to lift a little bit. I like to lift my front elbow and push my fingertips down in the front. Releasing when it suits you. Coming undone, maybe taking a moment in the middle for your side of head or forehead to rest. And as you feel ready, moving to the other side. So my other arm will extend. My other arm will come next to me. I'll bend the other knee, and again, I have a pant leg. You might want your chin to rest or your forehead to rest while you're doing this. I have an ankle, a foot, and you have your good options nearby if you want to catch that ankle or foot. And you also have the option to keep your extension, your reach, and be where you are. Finding your breathing, perhaps a lift. Releasing when you feel complete. Resting a moment or 2 or 3. And when you feel ready, the invitation for this last posture before we take rest is a side bow pose half variation. So I have my bottom arm under my head like a pillow. For balance, my top hand is pressing down a bit. My bottom leg is long, or you may find that you want to bend that knee. Just be sure there aren't things in your way. See where you feel more balanced. And I have bonier days than others. If you feel like you need a blanket underneath your hip bones or any part of you, take a moment to set that up. And then the other knee, the top knee, will bend. And again, you might extend. And maybe today you don't make a connection. Maybe just this extension is what feels really good actually for my shoulder. Or maybe you have a pant leg to hold on to, or you have one of your handy improvised props nearby, an old belt, a tie, a wrapped up towel, whichever works for you. Or maybe you'll see about holding on to that ankle or foot. Finding your breathing. And then releasing when you feel complete. And we'll see about taking this to the other side. Sometimes we have a favorite side that we want to stay with and play with. And sometimes it's nice to move to the second side and feel a little balanced. So my other arm is long. I can feel I have a block in my way. My bottom leg, let's see if I'll keep it long this time or if I want to bend it. Sometimes I feel more balanced if I bend my bottom leg. And then my top leg can bend, and I have my pant leg, I have my ankle, I have my foot, I have my extension, maybe even a reach. Or if you have any of your good props nearby, you can give that a try too. Sometimes we notice differences from side to side. I can feel that this shoulder and neck side is feeling a little tighter than the other. So maybe I'll go for that reach again and see how that feels. I have a feeling I have garden feet, so pardon my feet. And then coming undone, taking it back to center. Maybe there's one side your head wants to rest on for a moment. Maybe you are happy with your forehead or your chin centered. Maybe it feels really important to rest both sides of your head. And for our constructive rest, you might like a pillow. I have my big meditation cushion folded in half because I think I'm going to want a little more height, but I might change my mind. So see what you have if you want to stack anything. And the last pose we'll take, and again you might find a little bit of a rocking table or a child's pose before you come into your supported frog or even a puppy dog. So this is a prone pose. We rest on our belly, which often feels so good for this low back area of mine. So you'll see if it works for you, and if not, you are welcome to return to your side or resting on your back as it suits you. So we make our way to the mat once again, and then we situate ourselves so that our shins, I'm going to come back to my Sphinx pose as I slither into my supported frog. Our shins and our ankles can be supported by the blanket. So if you had a bolster, your feet might be actually hanging off the other side of the bolster, but they don't have to. And then your knees come out a bit, so you can imagine you have frog legs, and then you rest. And sometimes, depending on how my neck feels, I prop my forearms because resting my head higher feels just right. And sometimes I prop my palms, one hand on top of the other. And you have all of those same options. Chin, resting. Oh, that was a forehead, sorry. Chin resting, forehead resting, or one side of your head resting. And sometimes we focus on our breathing here. And sometimes we're ready to release that focus and encourage ourselves to be with wherever we are in this moment. You're welcome to stay in your supported frog. I'd like to share with you a bit more of my yoga homework. And this is entitled, I Am Healing, Whole, and Thriving. Sometimes when we listen to a guided meditation, we want to change our position. So if it feels better for you to move into a different position, please give yourself permission to do so. But sometimes we want to have a seat in our meditation. So if you would like, you're welcome. Could be helpful to have a couple of props if you're moving. If you're happy in your supported frog, by all means, please stay. I am healing, whole, and thriving. For this practice, please find an object that represents wholeness to you. If you cannot find an object, then please write down the words healing, whole, and thriving on a piece of paper, creating a mantra card, if you will, or an affirmation card, and place your object or the mantra card near you for this meditation. We will start with a breathing practice to quiet your mind. Find a comfortable seat, or if you prefer, you can stand or lie down. Place your object next to you or near you. To find a comfortable seat, you may want to elevate your hips by sitting on a cushion, a pillow, or a blanket. And of course, you're welcome to stay in your supported frog. Close your eyes as you wish, or look at the ground in front of you and begin to breathe into your body. Start by taking deep breaths in and out. Begin to notice the expansion as you breathe in and the contraction or release with your exhale. Now continue to breathe. Take deep belly breaths, inhaling and feeling the energy move up, and exhaling, feeling the energy move down. Sit for at least 3 minutes, if you can, breathing deeply into your belly. Take a moment to be with yourself here fully. Allow yourself to be here, to be present. Bring your awareness to the object or mantra card and notice the energy it is offering to you. If you would like, you can repeat the mantra 3 times. I am whole. I am whole. I am whole. I am healing. I am healing. I am healing. I am thriving. I am thriving. I am thriving. Notice how you feel as you work with this mantra. You are whole, healing, and thriving. Once you feel ready to move out of meditation, with each breath cycle, bring your awareness back to deep belly breaths and the expansion and contraction. And release. Return to the space by opening your eyes and taking a moment to notice how you feel. Honor your feelings. This is a meditation by Michelle C. Johnson. Thank you, friends, for sharing my yoga homework with me. Di, ri, ha. Di, ri, ha. Di, ri, ha. Until next time.